I know.
There we go.
Yes. Oh, that was like biting into an apple. It was crisp. Very, very nice.
Not bad.
What's that, Chris?
Not bad. Not bad.
Not bad. Not bad at all. Well, here we are live. Happy Sunday evening to all. Chris, before we do our official welcome, while everybody is coming in, I need to know what you're drinking.
Well, okay, we can trade stories. This is just a Red Hook Long Hammer IPA. It's a West Coast,
nice.
but it's a West Coast style IPA.
Oh.
It's West Coast. Yeah, it's comes from Seattle, Washington. So, in solidarity with our Seattle brothers and sisters who have been, sweating out there.
Oh, yes.
Have you? So, hey.
Midnight. Hey, Midnight's in the chat. Hey, Midnight. Good to see you. Well, Chris, that sounds like a fabulous one. Let me know how it goes. What I have here is what you normally have, a Nod Hill Brewery beer. Ooh. That was our first Fumfa Live social event to go over there and then to come see you play. That was fabulous last weekend. I had a lovely time over there. And who knows, maybe we will do more in-person stuff there soon. Well, we will talk about it. We will maybe share some news. So I am enjoying that right over here. It's a delicious and refreshing beer. And last night, actually, I should say yesterday, we had a second event where we did a Nuyorican Poets Cafe workshop, which was actually online, right? So I'm trying to do an in-person social thing, but we included that during the day, and it was amazing. And so that included Paul Latorre, and he will be a featured reader, a poet, on next Sunday night with a bunch of other features who are going to be absolutely incredible.
Yep.
And then, had a little trip to Captain's Cove in Bridgeport, just lovely little seaside restaurant and bar. So much fun. So connect with Fumfa Live Social, connect with us, attend the live stream, enjoy, send us a note if you'd like to be a reader, and also come out to these in-person events. The New York City Poetry Festival is coming up next Saturday. Please meet me there. Get in touch, and hopefully we'll get to connect all there.
Where is that in New York City?
That is on Governor's Island, Chris. So, listen, you're going to get a ferry trip. Ideally, it's going to be a beautiful day. And then you'll have a day full of poetry, with some of your poetry friends. It's going to be amazing. So you should come out to that now that you can. It used to be hashtag stay home, hashtag don't stay home. Stay home and watch the live stream, right? But then go out, come see us, come meet us. But what about you, Chris? How was your weekend?
My weekend was swell. Our beautiful daughter was in a play.
Very
and
nice.
Into the Woods Junior. And she was amazing. The play was amazing, and it was spectacular. It was so great. We saw it twice.
Oh my God. I love that. And I think that is so amazing. So congratulations to Frankie. And also, I love Into the Woods. Oh, it's so cool that they did that one. What a delight. What a delight.
Great show.
Yes. So that is all really good stuff. We've had some crazy weather. We've had some fabulous summer heat and sunshine, and also these terrible downpours. So please, everyone, be safe out there. Flash flood situations in New York and Connecticut. Please stay safe.
I know two people whose basements have flooded. At least two people whose basements have flooded.
Oh, so dear.
Nobody likes when that happens. That's never a good thing. Although you could get a poem out of it.
Indeed, you could. I
think it might make a good poem, sort of a biblical kind of a thing.
Ooh, I like that. Oh, I like that very much, Chris. Go think about that. Nice. Well, it is officially 8:00, Chris, so it's time to give our official welcome to Fumfa number 59, Chris. Can you believe it? 59.
Wow. Almost 60.
Almost 60. So this is our WWW night. No. This is our Westport Writers Workshop night. And we have 8 incredible writers who are going to be sharing from their work with you tonight. Oh, Chris, you're a mid-sip. I was going to tell you, can you share those names with us? Sorry.
And I will. And this is not the order they're going to read in, because I don't have that order, strictly speaking, right in front of me. But this is just a random order. Steve White, Shrini Mandevilli, Gwen Reese, Melissa Demeo, Debra Coleman, Mark Seidel, Joanna Simmons, and Shawn Fitzgerald.
Awesome.
But yeah. And these are folks who have worked with Jen Sage Robeson, who's been on our program.
Mm-hmm.
Kissian, who has been on our program, and Charles Rafferty, who has been on our program.
Yes.
They all come highly recommended by those esteemed writing instructors. So it's going to be
so
amazing.
Good. Well, and Chris, I think there is another reason that we should be, for a certain guest to be esteemed. Can you tell us who Melissa Demeo is?
Melissa Demeo. Oh, yes. Melissa Demeo happens to be married to the infamous reclusive author known as Chris Belden. So my wife. I don't know if she wanted me to announce that.
I'm sorry.
Anyway.
Well, we teased that last week. We were telling people they got to come around to meet your wife, Chris.
Listen,
well,
it's not
fabulous writer Melissa Demeo, who also happens to be married to you, is what I should say.
This is not nepotism, because Jen Sage Robeson specifically mentioned Melissa Demeo as somebody that we should have on this program. So I said, okay, now I'm off the hook. It's not like
I didn't force you. I didn't pressure you. It was Jen. Jen really, she wanted you.
Jen said, go for it.
Yes. Well, Mom and Dad are in the house. Ed Poetastic is in the house. Hello. We have a bunch of friends joining us. Oh, I haven't joined on Facebook yet. I gotta do that. I like to watch the Facebook over here. I need to get it together over here. All right, perfect. Oh, we have so many guests joining us already. It's going to be a fabulous night of 8 amazing writers from Westport Writers Workshop. Chris, can you also tell us what we have coming up soon?
Oh, of course I can. As well as you mentioned.
Yes.
Paul Latore is going to be on next week with some of his gang from the Nuyorican. I assume that's how he knows them, is Ray Jane, Elemental, Nathaniel Beck.
Right? And also, as I believe several of these people have been inputted in the chat, which is Midnight, Philip J. Curtis's open mic.
That's how I know Ray Jane from.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so that's next week. The next week following, we have the great Barbara Crooker and Tanya Kohong. Then we've got Beth Tillman and Laurel Peterson. And then the next week we have Rosalind Stevenson and Ezra Lovecroft, who gets the award for best name for a writer. Johnson the next week with Sally Knacker, who has a new book out. And
so excited.
Then we have a couple weeks off for the holiday, and we come back in the fall with some pretty big stars. So
we're very excited. We are very excited, and we thank you so much for joining us. And make sure you're following us on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and subscribing to everything so you never miss a show. And also follow us on Fumfa Live Social as well for in-person social fun. Well, without further ado, I think we need to introduce our first reader, Chris, Mark Seidel. Let's bring him up here. Hold on, let me get that banner. Let's get Mark up here. Welcome, Mark.
Banners are very important.
Thank you.
We're so happy to have you with us tonight.
Thanks very much.
Yes. All right, Chris, I'll leave you
Yeah.
to the bio.
The mark comes to us from Charles Rafferty's workshop, and we were talking about bios earlier, long, short. Mark has a short and sweet one. He lives in Poughkeepsie, New York, where he works as a special collections librarian at Vassar College. His poems have appeared in several online and print journals, including West Trade Review, Bel Hombre, hope I'm saying that right, and Hole in the Head Review. I got to get in Hole in the Head Review. I got to check that out. All right. Anyway, welcome, Mark Seidel.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks to you and Katie for organizing this event and inviting me to join. So I'll read a few poems. How many exactly depends on the time, but I'll start with one called But Ohio. Just saying it lets you down. That first O, a delicious round of surprise, like the mouth of a girl whose arm you brush against in the hall between Spanish and algebra, whose perfume you inhale through the conjugations, and who turns with a high, bright as a cigarette's burning tip behind the bleachers, as if you are the one whose touch she wants against her lamb's wool sleeve. And then that final falling O, her lips curling to a pout as she sees it's you, all neck and bedhead, bent into your slouch like a pipe cleaner unglued from its art class trial. The plant he remembered to water. That year, he lived in a house with train tracks just yards from where the back lawn gave in to kudzu. The rent got him a room that he fixed up with a telephone, brick and board shelves, a spider plant a girl put into his hands. In the frayed nylon of a folding beach chair, he bent for hours over some assigned book, waiting for the word in his ear. On the telephone, the girl asked about the plant, its light and soil. Long after she stopped calling, it stood on the shelf beside his French grammar book, its shaggy shoots slow diving toward the floor. Twice a day, its leaves trembled like his fingers had when they fumbled with her buttons. As, out back, freight trains clanked by, slowing into town or ramping up past the hospital. But there, on the stretch beyond the yard, never so fast he couldn't make the embankment, swing by a ladder rung up between cars, and crouch in the diesel stink, nothing to hear but the double Dutch clack of his going. Divorced. It happens most times when you're waiting, engine and park, something else on your mind, that click in your right knee, the splash of grease hardened on the stove. Your son inside, tossing his room to find the headphones he must have, however short the trip. And you remember those weekends, buckled into cars, your father behind the wheel, talking. The power lines plunge and climb between their poles, vast invisible dolphins breaching in blue swells of air. Polaroid. That it's as much of the sky as you in your getup of wrong side Civil War cap and cowboy boots. How the sky, the blue live air, shapes itself around you and you shape it to yourself, the way river and bank collude to inflect. That's how, when this comes out of the box of things you keep because you love the ones who gave them, you will know that to hold one day apart from all the rest, to remind you of a place you were, wasn't the point, but that I, for a moment, was looking. taking care. I worry about the strip of sunlight that each morning glides across the painting of a sailing ship my mother gave me when she had no space for it. I worry how that light will fade the paint, blanch the green-black ocean to gray, making the sleek cutter, sails taut with wind driving it on its mission, look like some plastic toy in bathwater. Over her wine glass, my mother will then say, "What happened to my ship?" I think of moving it to a different wall, but my mother will say, "Why did you move my ship?" Our hemisphere tilts degree by degree further into spring. The slat of sunlight dips down to where it just brushes the frame as it drifts across the smooth tomato bisque finish on the wall. Now what will my mother say about her ship? And one more. It's called Rules of the Road, and it's dated 1/6/2021. There are still lines we will not cross. Think of how, after the milling machine grinds off the split and potholed surface, and the roller flattens the new blacktop like dough before kids set on it with cutters. It's not guaranteed the painter will come anytime soon to lay the light-catching bands that remind us how we must go. And if not, watch. The cars will keep to one side, by silent pact giving way in the marginless space, each granting the other's need for the contrary direction. Thanks very much.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Hey, what is your connection to Ohio?
I've just always liked how it sounds.
I had a momentary Wi-Fi moment. I'm sorry, Mark. Incredible stuff. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
No, I asked because I'm from Ohio, so I thought, okay.
No insult intended.
But it has. No, you really can't insult Ohio in front of me. But by that I mean to say you can say whatever you want about Ohio. But it is very poetic, right? Ohio. It's a beautiful sounding state name.
Oh, just absolutely gorgeous imagery. And I loved your reading voice, Mark. Just incredible stuff. And just a reminder to you and all the other readers that you've got to hop on Facebook and also YouTube and just see all of the comments and love that you guys are receiving. What a fabulous reading. And I'm so sorry I had an internet break. So I kind of missed the last line.
It looked like you were frozen in thought. I thought, wow, she's just stunned by the poetry. Which you probably were, but you were just like,
I was. And then I was like, oh no.
So small. There's like, wait a second, is Katie frozen? What's in that beer that she's drinking? All right, anyway.
I really loved your poems, Mark. I hope we can have you back soon.
Thanks so much. I'd love to.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Mark.
Right.
Thanks.
Well, next up, we have Joanna Simmons. Very exciting. Right. Let's get Joanna up here. Oh, we have dueling banners. Sometimes we both click the button at the same time. Neither one of us wants to forget, but then we have a little clicking war. Welcome, Joanna.
Thank you.
It comes to us from Julie Sarkisian, who highly recommended Joanna tonight.
Fabulous. Well, I have the honor of introducing Joanna with her bio. Joanna Simmons is a writer and creative collaborator based in Brooklyn, New York City. She studied theater at Northwestern University. As well as writing her own memoir, fiction, and plays, she has helped many other artists to develop, write, and perform original shows at Wild Project, The Tank, the Edinburgh International.
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how to go with this particular one. Okay, so sorry. The Edinburgh International Fringe Festival, Ars Nova, and United Solo, among others. She served for over a decade as Associate Artistic Director at the Story Pirates, a creative writing organization that works nationally in grade schools to encourage young people to put their ideas down on paper. She currently teaches writing and the creative process at the Westport Writers Group. Awesome. We're excited to hear from you, Joanna.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that intro. Yes, Edinburgh. I did not know that it was pronounced that way either for a long time. All right, so I'll be reading some short memoir pieces. These are called Rehab Triptych 1, Flashback. The Discman thrums in my hand frantically as I stand on the roof of my apartment building, looking out over the sirens, the odd groups of exhilarated teenagers, exhilarated simply because it is 2 a.m. and they are outside. I wish it were that simple for me. I pull the dime bag out of the fifth pocket of my jeans. That's why it's there. Who knew? And the pen cap, and do a bump while Band of Horses whines epically in my headphones. I walk to the other side of the roof, swigging straight from a bottle of vodka, and peer over the edge. Fuck, I drop the drugs. They disappear immediately 4 flights down to the ground. Shit. The Discman drops to the roof. One more sip of vodka, and I'm lowering myself over the back of the building, feeling around with my feet for the fire escape ladder. The rest is a blur. And the whole time I'm thinking, I'm doing it. I'm such a badass. Yes, it is a badass thing to do, to scale your building in the middle of the night for barely one more bump of coke. Getting off at the bottom is the trickiest part, because I haven't realized yet that getting back up will be the trickiest part. I swing from the ladder over to a window guard on my landlord's window. He occupies the ground floor with his wife and young daughter. I'm on my hands and knees, scrabbling around for the tiny bag. I hope it didn't go into the neighbor's yard instead, or blow away in the wind, or fall in a puddle, or that some feral cat ran off with it. Okay, here it is. Okay, I have it. It's back in my pocket. Now I'm at ease, but still in my landlord's backyard. I look up at the roof. It's really high. I giggle to myself and piss in my landlord's backyard before steeling myself for the ascent. There's no way ever that I would do this sober. Absolutely not. I am afraid of heights. I am afraid of embarrassing myself. I am not even very strong, but I'm not me right now. I'm something else. And the power of that something else propels me back up onto the fire escape ladder and all the way back up to the roof. Tomorrow, if I remember this, I won't believe it. And I definitely won't tell anyone. I should write this down. I just scaled a building. I just did something amazing. And no one was here to see it. Part 2, Reassembly. It had been years since I made a collage when I arrived here at rehab. I made collages all through junior high and high school. I used to cut up magazines and stick them back together until my fingers were gray with glue and ink. Give me a boring magazine and I will make a glittery hodgepodge of trees and fabric and eyes and mouths. The collages stopped with adulthood, along with playing guitar and believing in dreams and believing in God and saving myself for marriage. Saving scraps for collages continued on for a time. I still have scraps stacked in envelopes around my apartment. Scraps of pages I tore up, but never reassembled. Here in rehab, we make vision boards and collages to adorn our notebooks in between morning meeting and group therapy. We have boxes and boxes of strip-mined magazines. The first pages to go are the perfume ads, rubbed frantically on institutionalized bodies, hidden under pillows, crammed into pockets, gifted tenderly to roommates left behind when someone's stint is up. Next to go are empowering words for the vision boards. Love, live your dreams, aim high, you're worth it, just do it. Left behind are neat rectangular holes, the process repeated again and again until the pages are ragged and sticking out. Then the pictures of cars are gone, the jewels, the bouquets of flowers, the animals, sometimes the children, hands intertwined, handsome men on horses, sunsets. The magazines are never thrown away, even when all that's left are recipes and the small print under pharmaceutical ads. You might think this is because someone might still find something beautiful among the tattered pages, but it's more of a buffer, something to busy the hands of the new girls so that those of us who have been here for a few weeks get first dibs on the newest issues. I flip and flip and flip. A huge set of lips encrusted with golden powder and jewels. I gasp. Incredible. The scissors hover still in the air as I stare at the lips. I imagine which collage they will join, or whether I will just hang them up as is in my room. Are you using those scissors? How have these been missed? They're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You don't look like you're using them. I'm frozen. Give me those. The scissors are taken from my hand. We only have one pair in the craft room. Undaunted, I begin to gently and deliberately tear around the edges of my prize. And part 3, tomorrow. I'm nervous to leave rehab. In their letters, my ironic friends back home keep calling it superhero camp. Not sure if they're softening the blow for me or for themselves. I have faced enemies here. It remains to be seen if I have won. I'm nervous to leave because of the curb along the parking lot. In here, we walk up and down a set of stairs 6 times each day at a moderate pace. When we get to go outside, there are no curbs. Behind the building is a large field where we had group therapy on 2 blessed days. And once there was a fire drill, and we were lined up in the scrappy strip of grass along the front of the building. It was the only time while I've been here that the schedule changed. Every night I stare at the curb between that scrappy strip of grass and the parking lot. I look out this window between dinner and evening meeting. It's a hidden corner in the morning meeting room, behind the stack of extra chairs. It's unlocked all day, but since it's the morning meeting room, no one thinks to go in there at any other time. Common area, TV room, craft room, those sound like welcoming spots any time of day. I sit here with my hoodie pulled up over my ears, trying to block out all the sounds of this place, and I scroll through images of what might happen on that curb. Who might pull up to pick me up? Who might come to visit, even though visitors are not allowed? A private moment between 2 staff members. And most often, replaying the moment I was dropped off here and the back of the car as it pulled away. When I left detox a week before ending up here, I fell flat on my face on the first curb I crossed. I was like a baby deer, but it wasn't adorable. It was embarrassing. I've had enough of embarrassment. And all the girls will be watching from the common room window as I cross the curb to get into, hopefully, my husband's car. Giving them something to laugh about would be a generous act. But no, my husband is bringing donuts for them. I gave Tara my large Ziploc bag. I gave Karen my extra snacks and some clothing to the woman who got here with nothing. I get something too. I get to leave with dignity. Thank you.
So good, Joanna. Thank you. Oh, such vivid, powerful scenes. Oh, I was there. And I love the juxtaposition of all of those. Oh, you took me back with the magazine collages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
That was
Absolutely.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
And now is this part of a large, I know it's a triptych. So is this the whole piece? Is this part of a larger?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've been writing a lot of mini little memoir pieces. So these were 3 that felt like they fit together.
Right.
But I'm not sure sort of what the final world will be that they live in, or if it'll just be this piece. I kind of like these 3 together. It feels,
I love it.
Feels nice.
Well, I mean, you could do both. I mean, these could make its own little thing, and then you could, I mean, who knows? You could have 100 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love it. And I love the way each of these reflected on each other, you know, especially starting with the I scaled the building to get my drugs and then peed in my landlord's bag. It was so vivid. And then you're kind of going back to this incredibly, you know, all innocent time and like and hobby, and then kind of coming forward to this kind of more difficult and darker moment again is so good. And you know, it also reminds me a little bit, Chris, of when Charles Rafferty was on here and he was talking about prose poems and I guess fiction or nonfiction, and how he was kind of not necessarily seeing the line between them. And your lines were so lyrical, Joanna. I could kind of see them almost falling in that category of being like these, almost like these prose poem pieces as well as memoir. I love reading memoir and nonfiction like that. So good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear everybody else.
Yes. Well, we are welcoming next Shrini Mandevilli. Welcome, Shrini.
How are you, Shrini?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we hear you fine.
Yes, we can hear you perfectly. We are excited to hear from you tonight. Chris, would you do the honors of reading his bio?
And well, speaking of Charles, Shrini joins us from Charles Rafferty's workshop, and he is a practicing pathologist.
So cool.
Hartford, Connecticut. So it's great that he's got that day job.
Hey.
He's a writer. He went to medical school in India and then trained in oncologic pathology in the U.S. He has had poems published in the Raven's Perch, Indolent Books, Verse Virtual, Connecticut River Review, Carduceus, Long River Run, Theodate, many, many more, Drunken Boat, SN Review. He has published a chapbook called Gods in the Foyer from Antrim Books, and he lives in West Hartford with his wife and 2 daughters. Welcome, Shrini. We can't wait to hear your stuff.
Take it away.
Katie and Chris, thank you very much. The first poem is called It's a Dog's Life. The American poet James Dickey, when he was teaching perhaps one of his last lectures at University of South Carolina, invoked Flaubert, who had said that the life of a poet is a hell of a life. It's a dog's life, but it's the only one worth living. So here's my first poem. It's a dog's life. Poets can be like dogs, domesticated on a diet without adjectives, or taught to take meaningless walks around the cul-de-sac. You can toss a thought and they will be off in a flash, ready to be patted on their heads. You can never praise them enough. They will always ask for more. They can be difficult to spot in life, walking like invisible pets, appearing only when they walk with their noses in the air after the scent of a poem. For the most part, they lounge, ruminating and dreaming nonchalantly. But they do have extraordinary eyesight like pathologists. They make keen, reliable observations on human behavior, commenting on entire slices of humanity. You will see them when you have guests over. They will be loitering in the shadows, taking notes. It's summer, and at the grocery stores, you can find pretty decent mangoes. For me, when I pick mangoes up, there are all sorts of memories associated with it. So here is a poem, Mangoes. There is one word that appears here called pawn, and pawn is an after-dinner treat in India with betel leaf and betel nut. Mangoes. I bring a box full from another planet. Wash them under cold water in a white sink. Wipe the skin with care. Cut lengthwise with a paring knife. Keep peel intact. If my mother were here, she would grab the fleshy pit and devour the ambrosial flesh, juice running down her arms. It reminds me of my granduncle in his white crumpled shirt, blanched gray-peppered hair. His laughter showed a pawn-stained tongue as he brought crates of fruit each summer. Perhaps I will decorate the front door with a string of leaves like my father did. or chop the unripe ones into triangles, pickle them with mustard oil, salt, fenugreek, red pepper, as my hands become my grandmother's. I will tell this story to my girls of how difficult it was to climb the tough textured tree, standing under its blossoms in searing heat, and think of golden pulp in a steel bowl. When I go back to my hometown in southern India every year at a city called Hyderabad, I visit a fort, which is a crumbling fort actually, called Golconda. Over a period of time, it has passed hands from Hindu kings to the Mughals to British, and it's the place where the Kohinoor diamond comes from. And this poem explores as to why I visit and revisit this fort. Visiting Golconda Fort. You return to the city in winding lanes, stop to buy pomegranates from a boy who stands by a goat with a stick. You arrive at the ramparts, swayed by how certain things remain impregnable, climb stone stairways past bazaars and barracks, hear bull elephants smash metal spiked gates. You marvel at peacock and lotus motifs, your mind drifts into tunnels. On a high terrace, the air is thin and rare. All history becomes cool in the dimming dusk. You look down at Hyderabad. It sways in the distance in blue and orange bands of late summer heat. Tombs dot the horizon like beasts resting on their haunches. You descend the hill, past the mosque and Kali temple. Hear first a delicate flutter, scratching, percussive flapping over the entire ceiling. Such bats must also have watched the siege of Aurangzeb. The dead arise, walk the battlements and bastions. When you sleep, you have no name. 1,000 bats fly in your skull. This time, they make no sound. You hold up your hands, there are diamonds in your grasp, as if you have dipped your hands into these granite hills. This piece of history stops for you, puts its head in your hands. Then you begin the faithful work of returning. You find a guide to tell you a story you know. In Western India, in the month of January, there is a Kite Festival where if you visit any of the cities, all the terraces will be full of people, and usually the parents or an older sibling teaching the younger ones on how to fly a kite and perhaps bring down someone else's kite. And in the evenings, as dusk settles, some will put up a kite called a tukkal, which is lit with a small wick or a candle. One other word that appears in the poem is manja, which is kite string that is fortified, if you will, with crushed glass. The poem is called Kaipoche, which in Gujarati means I have cut your kite. Kaipoche. Last evening, some lights across the pond flared like gold globes or red ash. I thought of stone ghats of Varanasi as fog became smoke. I am watching a grackle perched on the patio's railing with the shine of glass and glue. In its black eye, the image of bare feet on brick terrace, your fingers over mine, slashed with cuts of manja, guided the tug of heavy string. Our fighter kite flapping in its pied plumage spiraled into a yawning and undertow as its bobbing wick rose in warm air. When all of the tukkals plunged in a tangled heap, and I asked how much the spinner could unspool, you said, as far as needed. Even now, I cannot stop reeling in. The next poem is My Grandmother's Cook. My maternal grandmother, when she got married as a young woman, as part of her dowry, she brought along a cook with her who was about her same age. And when I would visit my grandmother during my school years, like middle school years, I would see the cook. And a lot of my tastes certainly are developed from what he used to cook. My last memory of him is when he was in the backyard. He was looking at the sky, cursing God. He had schizophrenia, and that's the last I saw of him. My grandmother's cook. During summer breaks, I see the backyard fulsome with scent of rose bushes. I'm sorry, I should just say one thing. This poem is written as a haibun, where there's a prose poem and it ends in a haiku. I apologize, I'll just start again. During summer breaks, I see the backyard fulsome with the scent of rose bushes over parched brown yard, powdery like ground turmeric. A single neem tree leans against this house at the end of the street. Early mornings, I find you tall and gaunt, sweat on the crown of your head, your fingers on the rope turning the squeaking pulley over an old well. Later, you struggle to get words out, then prophesize with hands thrown at the sky, faulting God. There is a golden disk of summer the entire day, the season hot as a black cast iron stove pan. You work switching between the incessant steam, mounds of coal, gurgles of the percolator, and then piles of wood to heat water. Your clear eyes hover over the unbroken days, then lead back to the railway station. You stand in your gamcha next to my grandmother, only she is waving. Beyond her, the narrow gauge train tracks, then the tonga, and the horse in its brown skin patiently waits. I remember your long arms, fingers measuring soaked cups of white rice, yellow lentil, then moving, rotating the stone in a deep well of the massive stone mortar. I sit in a dining room by the window, bright at daybreak, put my hands on the steel plate, feel the sizzle of ghee, the piquant smell of drumsticks, ground peanut chutney, and crushed red pepper smeared across. But you are always in the dark of the kitchen on your haunches, folded into your knees like a heron, resting, gazing into batter, set to rise in the sticky, warm depths of nights. I want to trudge along the dusty road, scoop up water from the gray metal bucket, and sink my face into summer. A heron lifting unfolds over the shining silence of the lake. And then end with a poem, A Pathologist Drives Home. A pathologist drives home. I study cells in microscopic fields, armies of Kublai Khan, canny mendicant travelers that defy easy classification, like the ones that felled my grandmother when I scooped her up, light as a sparrow from the floor, hoping that Rama might descend as another avatar to vanquish asuras. Insatiable and pleomorphic, wearing fuchsia and magenta war paint, they line up at ramparts, holding up abnormal mitoses, as if they were a cross to bear. Driving home in the night, path lit by a modicum of knowledge and some assumptions, the winding road becomes a strand of unwound double helix. Who is to tell what is pernicious and what is benign? I focus on the moon, a nucleus tonight. The windshield becomes a lens, finds the moon hung between two traffic lights like the third eye of Shiva, climbs to decorate the night's forehead. I catch my reflection in the glass, at the mercy of the moon that watches dispassionately as tremulous stars dissolve like unreliable organelles. Thank you very much.
Oh, Shrini, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous work. Powerful stuff. Incredible imagery. Wow, I feel like I got this incredible window into your life and memories and all of these incredible scenes. I won't, it's really unforgettable stuff. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And, you know, I was going to ask, you know, how does an oncology pathologist become a poet? How does a poet become an oncology pathologist? But the last poem maybe didn't answer it directly, but it kind of gave me an idea. This is how you see the world. So what else could you be but a poet as well as pathologist?
Thank you. Beautiful. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Katie.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shrini. We'd love to have you back again one day and hear even more. All right. Well, Chris, up next, we have a very, 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 very extra special guest.
So true.
Would you like to do the honors, Chris?
Well,
get that banner.
I'm gonna click the banner.
Okay, I want hands off.
Demeo. I mean Demeo. Demeo. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Katie.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to have you. For those who do not know, Melissa Demeo is an incredible author. We are very lucky and happy and honored to have her. And she just happens to be married to this guy over here. If I can, if I can do that, the mirror image. We are so excited. What's that?
It's very disorienting.
It is.
Deborah's
really
right. Mm-hmm.
It really is. And, we were joking before that Melissa might be on the other side of the same room and that they would be like switching. No. We're seeing a different room of the home. All right. Well, Chris, actually, it is my turn to read the bio, but
no, I think you should.
Do you think is it okay?
Of course.
All right.
Definitely.
I'm honored. All right. Melissa Demeo. Let me scroll. Okay, here we go. Melissa Demeo is a copy editor. She has an MFA from the New School and studied at Westport Writers Workshop with the poet Jen Sage Robeson, who read on Fumfa Poets and Writers Live on May 2nd. Oh my God, it was that long ago.
I know.
It's crazy. It seems like just yesterday. Well, Melissa, we're going to leave you to it. We're excited to hear your work.
Thank you.
Lupo.
Grazie. So this is a piece that I started in Jen's workshop, and Jen gives you poems as prompts, and then she picks a line or two from it and says, go to it. So this is the start of something that I'm calling Poor Sam Peabody. Get a dog. That's what everyone said after Gordon died. To keep you company, her daughter-in-law said. Juniper, Gordon had never been able to get their daughter-in-law's name right. He'd always called her Jupiter, as if trying to make her the man he wished their daughter had married. Juniper said she'd read a study that proved dog owners had lower blood pressure. It was because dogs were sweet and cuddly, she said, and the act of stroking their soft fur had a soothing effect. Now, looking down at Rocco, panting heavily, beads of saliva falling onto the hardwood floor, Louise knew that dog owners' blood pressure dropped because they had to walk the damn things 20 miles a day. You could buy fancy stationary bikes and hire expensive personal trainers, but it turned out the best motivation to exercise was the threat of someone urinating on your living room carpet. All right, she said to Rocco, all right. She had been skeptical about his promise of companionship, as if this raggedy creature of unknown age and parentage could take Gordon's place, but he had turned out to be quite a lot like her late husband. For one thing, Rocco snored. He shed. He depended on her for all his meals. He followed her all over the house. Her friend Betty Jane had once observed, about Gordon, you can't even take a piss without him up your ass, which Louise had thought a singularly creative understanding of human anatomy. Rocco always looked slightly anxious. Even when curled up on the couch, she could never keep him off, as if he remembered his time on death row and thought it was only a matter of fate until he was back. She thought of Gordon in the hospice, semi-conscious, deliriously repeating not some last words of transcendence or even tenderness, but simply over and over, this is annoying. Louise hooked Rocco's leash onto his collar. The collar, a gift from Juniper, had a jingling tag engraved with Rocco's name, and underneath the words, prowling for bitches. Louise thought that walking in the woods behind her house was the only time Rocco felt genuine joy. His anxiety slipped from him as he nosed from tree to rock to grass, like a child who couldn't decide which Christmas present to open first. Louise, too, found things in the woods, all kinds of things, water bottles and power bar wrappers, condoms and tampons, plastic chairs and car parts, and once the perfectly intact glass cylinder of an old farmhouse lamp, pushing a fluted edge through the soil under an old stone wall, as if, even lightless, it couldn't stop looking for home. Sometimes, on closer examination, the tampons turned out to be bullet casings, which she considered were the exact opposite of tampons. Womb to tomb. One time she came upon a perfectly neat and bloodless cache of organs, laid out like a diagram in an anatomy book. She knew the hunters would gut their kills to make them easier to carry back to their trucks. She knew that when she and Rocco went back the next day, the organs, every last bit of them, would be gone, an easy meal for the coyotes and bobcats. She had even found a wildfire, long and sinuous, but strangely, almost politely, only knee-high. It was so deep in the woods she had to lead the firemen to it. It may have been the work of teenagers, the original owners of the condoms and tampons, presumably, or a campfire run amok. She passed miles of stone walls and wondered about the people who ever thought it was a good idea to try to wrest a living from ground that was more rock than soil. She'd glimpsed wildlife, the patrols from hidden armies of bears, deer, coyotes, foxes, bobcats, raccoons, skunks, beavers, opossums, owls, snakes. After a rain, fluorescent orange newts sprang up like bubblegum machine toys, and in the spring, prehistoric-looking turtles lumbered out of the water to lay their eggs. There were birds, always birds, flamboyant birds like the scarlet tanager, and birds that could only be heard, like the wood thrush. She saw people, fellow hikers, couples on ambitious dates, bird watchers who skulked around behind trees for the perfect view of the great blue heron. She met hunters so frequently that it became routine to see a man in camouflage, even his face painted green and black, hanging from the plywood railing of a deer stand high in the trees, holding a rifle. "Hello, Wyatt," she would call up to one. "Hi, Louise," he'd say back and tip the bill of his army green cap. But never had she seen a complete sleeping bag rolled out like a table runner on the forest floor. She was perversely tempted to lift the edge, but remembering newspaper stories about murders that began with some hapless hiker/dog walker/passerby, she withdrew her hand. She would look for Wyatt, that's what she would do. She'd often thought that if she ever twisted an ankle or hit her head on a rock, Wyatt, despite his skull tattoos and ever-present cigarette, would be much more likely to provide useful aid than the bird watcher with his binoculars and peace sign bandana. It was deer season. He must be in the trees somewhere. Wyatt? She felt ridiculous calling someone's name in the middle of the woods, where the only human sound that reached was the faint hum of traffic on Route 6. A sparrow perched low on a shrub and looked nervously around. He stretched his white throat and whistled. The birder had told the sparrow's call was said to sound like, "Poor Sam Peabody, Peabody, Peabody." To Louise, it was just a sad little unanswered song. Louise looked back at the sleeping bag. It couldn't have been long. She and Rocco had been on this trail last week, and she would have seen it. Wouldn't she? Would she? Could she even remember anything she'd done last Tuesday? Was that the day Juniper had come over with another case of undrinkable protein shakes? Was it the day she'd had lunch with Betty Jane? No, because she'd picked up her prescription after lunch, and it was a 5-day course of antibiotics, and the days rolled one into another like a roll of tape you couldn't find the end of. "Wyatt," she called again. "Wyatt?" And then foolishly, "Gordon?" She heard the insistent burr of a last cricket and a soft splash from the pond. "Sam Peabody?" she said. "Anyone?" Rocco, who'd been exploring 100 yards ahead, returned with muddy legs and sat down in front of Louise. He whimpered softly, eager to get on with their walk. Louise rubbed his velvet head and then reached down to the sleeping bag, grasped the zipper tab, drew a long breath, and pulled. That's it.
Melissa, so good. Oh my God. Totally entertaining. I'm in the scene. I need to know what happens. You're cracking me up. So good.
Oh, we're going to have a talk later. You cannot end there. I think I know Rocco.
I think you do too. Yeah, I'll show it here.
Oh, there we go. So good, so good. Melissa, that was so excellent. So excellent.
Thank you so
Chris,
much.
Melissa, we need to hear you more. We need to hear more. We want to hear more.
Okay. You've inspired me.
Yes.
And it flew by.
Oh, good. I didn't go overtime. I was worried.
No.
Good.
It's perfect.
I thought Chris was going to come down and give me the signal.
No, of course not. Of course not. Well, thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you for having me. Can't wait to hear everyone else.
Yes. Exciting. We have several more writers reading for you tonight. Chris, so awesome to hear Melissa. Oh, so good.
It's a rare occurrence. So we're lucky.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Chris, we now must welcome Steve White. Hey, Steve.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey.
Thanks for having me here. I really appreciate it.
Yes, of course. We're thrilled to have you. It's been a fabulous night so far, hasn't it been? Incredible readings.
Well, it's great, and also to hear some folks that I feel have really helped me write my poems. So it's kind of, it's kind of funny. But also, I want to welcome everybody to the Sunshine State because I'm in Florida right now. So it's in addition to everything else.
Florida man. All right.
Very good. That's so great, Steve. We love getting people from all different places, and kind of checking them off on our list here. That is so perfect. Steve, tell us real quick, who have you been in workshop with, or who has worked with you on poems? Who is reading tonight?
Well, I've been in Charles's workshops for a number of years, and Shrini. I've been in workshops with Shrini and Mark. And also Gwen, who's coming after me. So
fabulous.
Well, yeah. So it's kind of fun seeing everybody and hearing the works. I haven't heard what Gwen is going to read, but I love Mark and Shrini's work. So it's really fun to hear some poems again. It's like, and they know I say, "Oh, I love that poem. I'm glad you did that."
Oh, what a wonderful community. That is so great to hear, and we really, really relate to that because we have so many writer friends and pals from our MFA and from other areas too. And it's so good to read together and to hear each other's work. It's like a celebration. It's so good. Yeah. All right. Chris, can you introduce Steve to us?
Yes, I can. Stephen B. White is an award-winning nature photographer and environmental educator with a mission to strengthen our connection to nature. His passion has brought him to work with a range of cultural and environmental organizations, from the Cathedral of St. John the Divine in New York City and the Foundation for Shamanic Studies in California to the Long Island Soundkeeper in Connecticut. In addition to certification as a Florida Master Naturalist, Steve has a degree in studio art and philosophy from Towson University and an MBA from New York University.
Amazing.
Everybody, welcome Steve White from Florida.
That might fit in the category of too much information, but anyway, here we go. So I'm in Florida right now, but this is a poem from many years ago when I was in Southern Virginia and went to a little country fair, and it happens to be called Country Fair. 20 gets you past a lewd, tattooed barker and filthy canvas folds to a steamy tent cube of anxious rubes queued before a low stage, eyes glued on the crop of buck-toothed, buck-naked farmers' daughters performing crude and miraculous acts while you gawk, leer, disbelieve, cheer, shout for more, subduing the shame, the nausea, the prude, hoping you are doing as you should, as dudes should do, doing as dudes do. For you're 20, you are among plenty brought low by the view, soon the spin of the big wheel and taste of funnel cakes and pseudo food will smooth the mood. Let's see if I could get to the next page here. This one is called End Lines. Grandma yellowed in her bed, 3 stuffed pillows behind her head. Boo decided to be or not with a load of 5-weight shot. Randy sizzled in the fire. He never found that faulty wire. Esther joined the heavenly chorus. Angina squoze the old pectoris. Carol's final song was sung when they pulled her blackened lung. Uncle George had 3 too many, then stumbled drunk into a semi. Molly's end was odd because she couldn't summon who she was. Buddy's final words came hard, unlike his ashes in the yard. I pass my time, I rhyme, I wait for my couplet, for my date. Okay, the next one is very Florida. If you've spent a lot of time in Florida, as I have, you begin to notice that there are lots of strange named places, and you may recognize some of them, or you may not recognize any of them. But this is called a quick native name guide to Florida. Fakahatchee, ghost bloom. Ichituckney, tube flume. Immokalee, tomato can. Chokoloskee, dead man. Miccosukee, dollar down. Loxahatchee, turtle town. Pitlatchascotty, river docks. Chattahoochee, painted rocks. Okeechobee, frogland. Okaloosa, sugar sand. Homosassa, manatee. Caloosahatchee, algae. Cocohatchee, riverine. Cocowachee, clear stream. Apalachicola, other side. Alapahoochee, border ride. Tallahassee, red shade. Weekiwachi, mermaid. Withlacoochee, crooked roll. Osceola, Seminole. Ocklaconee, dam square. Pensacola, timeshare. Alachua, college fling. Sarasota, 3-ring. This is at another fair, the Maryland State Fair when I was a kid, and this is called the Headless Woman. The Headless Woman at the Timonium Fair was visible only through the small clouded window against which our sticky faces crowded and pressed. And we could see her flesh in hot pants and tight sweater, in spite of the jumble of tubes and medical paraphernalia emerging from her neck, keeping the body alive and mobile after the shocking and well-documented car accident, as demonstrated by the considered crossing and uncrossing of her long and comely legs, and also the movement of her hand with associated ruby nails that brought the cigarette to the opening in the shiny apparatus where the head belonged, allowing the only remaining pleasure in the tiny chamber where she sat in a booth papered with tattered Hollywood posters. This is a poem called Johnny Rice is Dead, and in case you're wondering who Johnny Rice was, just happened to be a person that I knew, and as you'll discover, not a person I liked very much. Johnny Rice is dead. Cheery words sing the eggy grin of a hapless imbecile off this earth and out from beneath my itching skin forever. I drown the sound of another round of his oily hack and bark, and see him down in the ground worming away. I could smugly prate on how he twiddled my fate and kindled hate, but now allow me to relish this rosy date and celebrate. And here's another poem about Florida, and probably applies to some other areas, but seems particularly appropriate in Florida, and it's called Another Tuesday. This is actually, the form of this is based on something called a giggin, which is kind of a form created by a woman named, I'm thinking, Adelaide Cropsey. Another Tuesday. I hate weed whackers and leaf blowers, trucks with trailers and loud hedge clippers, sacks of mulch and big red mowers, compost spreaders and rowdy chippers. Damn that din. Another Tuesday, more weed whackers and leaf blowers. It's the noisy day we pay to maintain status of us quoers. Up-and-comers and in the knowers must mind each twig of the HOA. I'd snub weed whackers and leaf blowers, but the whack and blow keep me in the fray. It's a hose to bear, a rake with the devil, to prune by the rules and mow with the flowers. I edge with the Joneses. I am no rebel. I'm on my turf with suburban growers. And that's it. Thank you very much.
So good, Steve. Oh my God. Hilarious and so good. The rhyme, you pulled me in. I'm seeing all this. I'm feeling all of this. I'm laughing. I was so into, especially the Native American names and the definitions. And then when you got down to Pensacola timeshare, oh, it was priceless. So good.
I think you have a title of your collection as Buck Tooth, Buck Naked Farmer's Daughters. I think that you would sell a lot of copies.
Hell yeah.
Well, it certainly brought us into that tent, I'll tell you.
Yes. Oh my goodness, Steve, that is so cool. And you talked a bit about form, and it was so neat to hear all of the different rhyme schemes that you had going on. It would be so great to have you back at some point and have you talk a bit more about how you're using rhyme and how you're using form. That is so great. Really great stuff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
Say hi to Florida.
Hey, Florida. Thanks, Steve. All right, Chris. So fabulous. All right. Well, we need to bring up Gwen Reese next.
That's right.
Welcome, Gwen.
Thank you. So excited to hear Steve and Mark read.
So great, right? And it's so nice. You were in workshop together. Now, was that online? Was that in person at some point? Online, right?
Let's see. I think I was in an in-person class, so that was before time with Steve, and then I think with Mark it was during COVID, so we were online.
Very good. Okay. We have a little bit of background action going on there, Chris. Oh, that's perfect. All right. Well, that's fabulous, Gwen. It's so good, to have your community around you to get to share, a reading night together, and you can just feel that camaraderie. It's a great feeling. All right, I'm going to share your bio with everyone. Okay, here we go. Gwen North Reese has published poetry in Rhino, Connecticut Review, Mom Egg Review, Dogwood, and other literary magazines, and has work forthcoming in print, published by Pen and Brush in New York. She is the author of a chapbook, Notes on Metals, and co-author of a book on a collection of pandemic-themed folk art from Oaxaca, due to be published this fall. Reese, who has a degree in literature from Yale University, began her career in book publishing in New York before becoming a poet and freelance writer on architecture and the arts. She serves as an educator at the Glass House and a consultant at Silvermine Art Center, where she has led poetry workshops on new and old poetic forms. Among her awards are the Rachel Wetstein Prize. Okay. Prize at the 92nd Street Wise Unterberg Poetry Center and numerous CT Press Club awards for feature articles and poetry. How awesome, Gwen! So cool. Fabulous. Well, we're looking forward to hearing you read.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start with two poems that are in this Pen and Brush publication called, that's Imprint is the name of the journal. It's edited, this issue is edited by Novella Ford and has cover art by Lola Flash. And let's see. Okay, so I have two short ones from that. The first one is Rose. Hive of edges, ear-soft ledges, swirl-combed presence, crimson message, earth-made selvage, whirlpooled spillage, core and self-edge, silken scrimmage, cloud-close spaces, shells of graces, sleeves and cases, ripped clean traces, spin and stasis, frailest braces, cup of rages, tender freight is, furls and blazes, bowl of pages, layered engines, wrapped oasis. This second one is called Opened Window, and it's a childhood memory that didn't get written down until 40 to 50 years later, after George Floyd's murder in 2020. Opened window. My putty yellow card with a metal plate and a number let me take anything out of the library. Horror was a fact. The slave trade, the lynchings, 12 years old, and I was already angry. At what? My own kind. Everyone cruel. All around me was news of the Black Panther trials beginning in my city. I lived 3 blocks away from the judge and the mayor, 2 blocks from the library. I often went there myself. I found Eldridge Cleaver's book and put everything else aside. While in the pages he wrote, he told me his life. It was as if he spoke to me in a room somewhere, in an afterlife. At home, my mother spotted the paperback. I was almost finished. I hadn't given a thought to her possible comment. And before she even looked up, she said, "You better read Malcolm." This next poem has the title is the first line. It's called Out of the Crystal Wool of the Sky. Out of the crystal wool of the sky, the dead build their houses. No stone doors or grass-tossed wreaths. They like interiors and space, not too much furniture, just enough room to greet you, to invite themselves in. They have nothing against photographs. While you puzzle over graphic patterns in the old class pictures, they stand in rows in front of the school's Gothic entrance. Pointed arch, every face, distinct, clear, young, squinting against the sun. And they love an index, alphabetical, last name first. Letters, they take a running jump into that crinkled bed of words that once looped out of hand and pen. A poem is a station they hurry toward, express stop. They love the space after the line, place to be. And in the old films, what they're doing is wandering around. You won't necessarily see them. They might be several blocks away from the action, admiring the elms, the way they looked before the blight. I have one more to read. It's called Cloth and Pinking Shears. It was published in Rhino magazine, and it's a dialogue. When I was growing up, all the women that my mother knew had sewing rooms. So they had sewing rooms in the basement or maybe in the corner of a dining room. And I grew up very used to all the tools of the trade. So this poem is a dialogue between the cloth and the pinking shears. And it's set up like the script of a play. Cloth speaks and then the shears speak, and there are little stage directions too. Cloth and pinking shears. Cloth. You cut 2 different ways at once, shear through, with your sawtooth perpendicular stainless steel. I can't even have a long, loose fringe. Shears. I'm weighted, cool to the cotton or shantung. Cloth. I'd give you plastic leather and you'd open your chops. Shears. Hushed. Let's make something out of you. Shears alligatored around, speaking, slicing, ruining. Cloth. On your jagged ride, there was one emergence from the loom, the bolt, a lapel and then a suit. I was once whole, unflapped, satin-lined, unbroken as night. It seems unbroken. Shears said, acetate is fine, any field of warp and woof, more than I need. Where I cut you to the selvage edge, close and bound, I wanted a seam. Cloth, wistful. I was luxurious and could fold complicated squares into a soft-edged book without a buttonhole. Now I'm divided, zig and zag, and needles mowing in, bearing down, pierce, and slip. Shears new. I'm leaving you, joined together by my old friend thread and a zipper. Cloth. I'll remember you without an edge. Then I'm gone. I'm hemmed, turned out, and I'm all edge. You didn't see, whispered Shears. You're finished. On the town, glass of wine, my loop eyes and open jaw, silverware, shocked and worn, left where they were flung, near the yardstick and the wheel of chalk. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Gwen. Gorgeous.
Thank you.
Absolutely gorgeous.
A little play.
Yes.
A little play.
I love
And
that.
what I have to say, it's in a zigzag form too. It's like it's got a pinking shears zigzag through the whole thing. I meant to say that.
I love that. I absolutely love that. You know, so many great little moments in there of imagery and metaphor. And I just wrote in the chat, Shears alligatored around. You know,
Yeah.
that is so good.
You got it.
And oh my goodness, you rocked me with your first poem of those phrases with the rhymes: bowl full of pages, shells of graces, a bowl of pages, shells of graces.
Yeah,
Ooh.
pages. Yeah, I tried to keep a similar rhyme running through the whole thing. So sometimes it's the same sound and sometimes it's off. And
Right.
I don't know what it's called, but there's some kind of a poem where you have at each line something tiny changes, like a letter or a word, and you kind of move through it. And I was thinking about that.
I love it. Oh, just such an incredible flow, and all of these different images, and each one of them is making you feel something. Loved it. Loved all of those poems.
Poetry tonight there, Katie.
Sorry?
Oh, what's that?
Lots of formalist type poetry tonight with the rock.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Steve mentioned a Geigen. I thought it was pronounced Geigen. I've done a few of those. They're fun. They're like pieces of villanelle and sonnet.
Yeah.
So cool. You know,
And you know, it's named after one of the monsters in the Godzilla movies. There's a monster called Geigen who is made up of junk left over from the other monsters.
That's hilarious.
Oh, that one. I can't believe it.
That is so cool. I love hearing poems in form. I sort of dabble here and there, but to hear, you know, all of these forms executed so beautifully and just being so excellent in and of themselves reminds me of my mentor Kim Bridgeford. I don't know if you know her, but yes, just
she edited a poem of mine. Yeah.
So good. So good. So great to hear you, Gwen.
Thank you so much for including me. This is so fun.
Oh,
absolutely. We hope to have you back again sometime soon.
Okay. I'd love it.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, it has been an amazing night, and we have two more fabulous writers. Say again?
The show is not over.
The show is not over. We have two more incredible writers, and the next one is Shawn Fitzgerald. I got the banner there. Let's bring up Shawn.
Great.
Oh.
You do that.
I'll click it. Welcome, Shawn.
Hey guys, thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you. You got the mood lighting going there. I love it.
I know. Yeah. You know, it's such a treat to get to have this little look every week into people's like writing rooms, offices, living rooms, kitchens.
Car. Once we had a car.
We did.
At least once, maybe more than once. Yeah, we see all kinds of things.
Fabulous. All right, Shawn. Well, Chris, can you introduce Shawn for us?
Of course I can. And Shawn comes to us from Julie Sarkissian's workshop. Shawn Fitzgerald is a Canadian writer based in Los Angeles. After growing up as a classical pianist, he pivoted to journalism and screenwriting. Shawn's pilot script, The Protege, was a top 10 finalist in this year's Final Draft Big Break screenwriting competition.
Woo.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. He likes writing about the dark side of opportunity. So we'll hear some more about that. And thank you, Shawn, for being here. Have fun.
Excited.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, so I've been working on a sort of longer piece for the better part of this year. It's a piece of satire, and it's kind of existed in a lot of different forms. It started out as a short story, and then it became part of a novel, and now it's becoming a screenplay. And it's about the dangers of cultural appropriation and ruthless ambition. It's a story that's inspired by true events about a Canadian politician in the early 1900s who was in an area of British Columbia that part of my family is from. And this guy he really wants to get reelected for his job, and he's basically willing to do anything to win, including lie about seeing basically what is Canada's version of the Loch Ness Monster. So I'm just going to read two quick selections, and I'll get into it. You will be the King of Canada. Your name will be in history books under a picture of your face. Perhaps you'll live forever in profile on a coin, probably both. You will make your ancestors in Scotland proud, having reclaimed what was theirs, just in a different country and under a different name. Of course, that's not how it works here, but this is what you have to tell yourself as you stand in the middle of the town park that will one day bear your name, Phineas McGinley. As you're drenched in July sweat, rehearsing the fundraising speech that must mark your comeback. It's what your best friend Desmond has to tell you when it's been another long day of door knocking and you've failed to convince yet another sucker that daft crook, Kent McKenzie, is just going to run your district into the ground. Kent, who doesn't even know his elbow from his pecker. Sure, the last 4 years, it might have seemed like you didn't accomplish much, that you didn't deliver on the promises you made during your last election. But it takes time to make a difference. It's like inheriting a bad house. First, you have to raise it. Then you have to lay the groundwork. Then you can do all the good stuff everyone keeps asking for. Tax breaks, revisions to the penal code, even a plan to keep people safe from Augie, that silly behemoth of a snake that supposedly lurks beneath the lake. This comeback speech can really let the people know that their future is secure with you, Phineas McGinley. It can really turn around this race, if you say the right things. If you don't, Kent could run away with the election. That's what the papers are saying. And if Kent wins, your place in this town is banishment. You won't have a place in this town. You'll be the guy who did nothing. Desmond might have to move too. Jane might finally leave you. Your son might pretend he doesn't know you. You will be a nobody. So saying the wrong thing tonight would be bad. And you do have a history of saying the wrong thing under pressure. You could walk into Caribou General, help Jane close up shop, and take the loss on the chin. But that's not the kind of man you are. No. Instead, you're here, watching from your park to be as the sun sets, turning the Okanagan Lake into a vast sheet of fire. As these thoughts run through your head, you say a prayer. You ask the good Lord for a good night, for the right words, for a ton of people to show up and spread your gospel, that Finn's got to win. When your ancestors came here from Scotland, they sought refuge from persecution, a better life. Now you have the chance to extend that promise to everyone here, to usher in an era of prosperity and modernity, to make even Vancouver jealous. You can save these people from ruin. You will save these people. That's a Phineas McGuarantee. Booing is never good. And here's the thing. The booing seemed pretty loud when it happened, but you're always your own worst critic. So it's easy for you to think the speech didn't go as well as you had hoped. It was a blur, after all. The adrenaline kicked in as soon as you got to the podium. The speech apparently happened, and now here you are, on your back, staring at what is probably your ceiling. It's hard to tell. Pitch black in your bedroom. That's why you're asking Jane for her opinion. The crowd that showed was smaller than what you and Desmond wanted. But the supporters who did come, they were loud and they showed zeal. Right? Right?
Yeah, zeal.
I guess I'm just trying to gauge the level of enthusiasm. Like, the parts where they clapped were definitely louder than the booing parts, right?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
What do you want me to say? You were there.
I was removed from it, though. Like, from your vantage point, was the clapping really loud? If the clapping was louder than the booing, I feel like I may still have a shot.
Yeah, I mean, getting booed is never good.
No, I know that, but I'm talking about the non-booed parts, the clapped parts.
The parts you stole from Ken's platform?
Okay, his platform is basically my platform because all of his ideas, the tax breaks, the revisions to the penal code, the scary snake thing, those are all things I haven't been able to do yet. That's why he's doing so well. He's never been in my position before, so he hasn't had a chance to not do them. I think we can still turn this election around.
If you can't do that, like, tomorrow, it might be time to,
What?
This all makes me look bad, too. Same with the store. Business for me has been at an all-time low, and Kip, he said he's been getting bullied at school because everyone knows Daddy is losing. I just don't want to give you false hope.
Okay, but I can legitimately do good for this town. I know I can.
Do you have to be in power to do good?
I just want to get a clear read on how the night went. Objectively, how was it?
It was great.
You don't mean that.
I don't know what you want me to say. If I tell you it was great, you won't believe me. If I tell you it wasn't, you get mad.
Why would I get mad at you for telling me the truth?
Good night, Finn.
Could you at least tell me this? How did I look up there? Optics-wise. Did I look formidable? Or was I, kind of shaky?
You looked great.
Well, thanks. At least there's that. Should we have sex? I'm just thinking it might make us feel better.
Sounds like you have a lot to think about.
She says, before leaving you alone with the company of only your thoughts. And so it becomes clear, as it had long before, that if you want to prove your vitality, you'll have to do it by yourself. A pressure builds up in your chest because it's bad, real bad, when even those closest to you want you to exit the race. But you can't. You have to win. Maybe this is what desperation feels like. Something that will consume you for the next 6 hours until you're out on the water, fishing with Desmond. You don't know it in this moment, but from the depths of the lake will come a solution so great it will change the way Jane and the others look at you forever. Because you will be the King of Canada. That's a Phineas McGuarantee. Thank you.
So good. I need to hear more. I need to know what happens. I need more of this. Wait, Shawn, thank you to your actor.
Yeah, special shout out to my girlfriend Lauren, who she is.
Yay! Awesome.
The best. We're dog sitting for a friend, so she's doing like a drive-by co-starring, and she's now about to walk.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's a good girlfriend.
Absolutely. Shawn, we would love to have you back again. We've been trying to, do a little bit more of a screenplay night thing going on. It was so great to hear from you tonight. It would be so great to hear even more and to see what happens next year.
Thank you. Yeah, no, for sure.
Thank you, Shawn.
Thanks.
All right, Chris. What a fabulous night. We've got acting, we've got some screenplay going on. So cool. And last,
they're thinking outside the box. They're pushing boundaries. They're doing all kinds of groovy stuff tonight.
All kinds of groovy stuff.
We're not done.
We aren't. Last but not least, we have Debra Coleman. Welcome, Debra.
Hi.
There she is.
Can you hear me? Okay. Hi.
I love your necklace, Deborah.
Thank you.
So beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, we are excited to hear from you tonight. We've had a fabulous evening, and you'll be closing us out.
Well, in one way or another, yes.
Yes.
Listen, highly recommended from Jen, and also Melissa was so excited that you were going to be on tonight.
Yes, I know Melissa from when I started with Jen.
Yeah, I know.
So great.
We're very excited to hear your work.
Great.
Wonderful. All right, Deborah, I'm going to go ahead and read your bio. All right. Debra Coleman hails from California, where she began telling stories when she first strung words into sentences. Debra turned stage fright on its head and shared some of her nonfiction adventures with audiences at the Fairfield Theater Company, Fairfield Museum and History Center, and other venues in Connecticut and New York. Debra now puts her stories on the page. She has most recently sharpened her craft in Jen Sage-Robison's Writing from Memory and Imagination at Westport Writers Workshop. Debra helped form and actively participates in a writing group with writers from that workshop. She has taken a number of other red letter workshops in Fairfield County and relishes the ongoing Writing to Prompts led by Carol Leonetti Danhauser at Fairfield County Writers Studio. Debra's work broadly paints survival illuminated with beauty and levity as an impetus for life fully lived. Debra earned her master's at Yale and has worked as everything from a maid at the Madonna Inn to interning for an Italian avant-garde architecture collective. She practices Tai Chi with a straight sword, has more yarn than spare time, enjoys shun piking on cross-country road trips. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. And sips an occasional glass of fine champagne, indeed. She lives in Connecticut with her husband, Bruce, and their terrier, Oscar, who refers to Debra as the lady. What a fabulous bio, Debra. I can't wait to hear you.
Well, yes, you did pronounce shun piking correctly. It's when a person shuns the turnpike. And that's what I like to do. So I'm going to read a piece of nonfiction, and the title of it is The Moon and the Earth. I zip to our telephone, read like Daddy's minister Bible, read like the blood of Christ, he tells me. I'm 9 and Jesus is a stranger to me. Mommy likes blood too sometimes, pricking my finger with a needle, my blood dribbling onto a chemist's slide. We look at it under her microscope, my cells pushing each other around like brats on a playground. I answer the phone politely in case Jesus calls. Hello, Coleman residence. Do you know how many miles the moon is from the earth? Mommy takes the receiver away unless it's great-grandma Lila, Daddy's grandmother. She mails us ancient twine-tied boxes that Mommy dumps onto the safety of newspaper islands that we're not allowed to step on until after she sorts through candies covered in cat hair, small musty toys covered in cat hair, cutouts from old greeting cards of kittens, puppies, and butterflies covered in cat hair. I love great-grandma Lila. I want her to live with us. I tell her she can have my bed. She always replies, I could never leave here. Boston is my home. One day, Mommy answers the phone before I do and calls out in a strangely pleasant voice, Come, children, come. Come watch your father talk to his girlfriend. We 4 slowpoke out to the living room as she hands the red receiver to him. Suddenly, it's all lightning and no thunder. Daddy's mouth moves and no sounds come out. Mommy may have put one hand on her hip, but if so, I didn't see her do it. In a crisscross dance of confusion and fear, we're crab children, ready to scuttle to a dark corner. But it's a sunny day in Southern California, and there are no cool shadows for wincing. A rock's been flipped over, and we're as exposed as Daddy's secret. What's a girlfriend, I wonder, even as I sense the doom of the word? I understand better when we begin to spend our court-mandated daddy Sundays with her, too. I flare seeing his girlfriend is Janelle, our old babysitter, the one who let us roll a pizza cutter over her while she was flat on the sofa, running it from her ankles to her shoulders and even down her bare arms. We cannibals were unsure of how deep we could go before drawing blood, drooling, pepperoni. After that first call from Janelle, Mommy's vigilant about the phone, smearing black lead red across the white notepad on the desk, calling the revealed numbers incessantly. Years later, Daddy told me that one number belonged to a mob boss who told Daddy to pass on the message that if Mommy called one more time, the boss would have her killed. The gory specifics left to her imagination. My teenage brain wheezed, yeah, right, like that ever happened. Now, going on 16, I eyeball the wedding guests gathered in a long sliver of public park in Long Beach. Music rockets out of mammoth speakers behind me. Funk organ notes cracking open smoggy clouds above. My brother Wayne and sister Jackie stand at the back holding empty baskets, their jobs complete. They've handed out red carnations to be tossed high over Daddy's bride when she walks down the white slip and slide aisle. Wayne's face could be mistaken for the flat side of Half Dome, while Julie's vindictive lips are eclipsed by bloodshot, teary eyes. At the distant boulevard, I see a line of black sedans, sturdy men standing at each passenger door, and I scan the crowd for their boss men. My other sister, Cindy, and I are bridesmaids, an uncomfortable honor, or perhaps punishment for our snotty glances over the years. I sewed our dresses with their sheer elephant ear sleeves, a cockatiel yellow floral chosen as a nod to Daddy's bird Binky. With look-at-me necklines and thin ties reaching from our flat chests to our backs, our dresses reveal everything and nothing at the same time. The strangle of my dress and the smell of cut grass are making me feel dizzy. I try to focus, listening hard to Billy Preston's serenade, "You Are So Beautiful," but only hear your eyes, your legs, your lips. Standing in front of everyone in my wispy dress, I wish I was Daddy's bird Binky. I want to hover above the spot where Daddy will soon marry Aida, and then fly away over the front row where Janelle sits in resolute tearlessness, a statue with perfect still lips and unmuffable hair. It's not my babysitter who's about to become my stepmother, but someone younger, someone barely 2 years older than me. Mommy was invited to the wedding too, but unlike we 4 kids, chose not to attend because she actually had a choice. Before Daddy picked us up in his Dijon-colored Datsun, she made us promise not to tell him about the telegram from the day before. That wouldn't be easy. We'd never had a telegram. But Mommy meant it, saying with uncharacteristic earnestness, "Don't tell your father on his wedding day." We cram into Daddy's car, and just as he starts to back up, Jackie opens her mouth as if to scream a long no. I glare at her, rubbing one fist into the other palm with a few silent tap, tap, taps. She ignores my warning, staring back at me with bumblebee eyes and hands almost clapping. Her voice is boiling syrup. Guess what, Daddy? Great-grandma Lila died yesterday. I see Daddy's face in the rearview mirror, and a canyon opens up inside him, a fracture between the past with his last ancestor gone and the future with his new wife. The rest of us fall into the great space in between, a space that may well be the distance between the moon and the earth. Thank you.
So good, Deborah. Oh, powerful stuff. These characters. Oh, in a space of a few minutes, I was feeling very strongly about everything. So good.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh God, we're
Our
so
pleasure.
good. We love that. Now, is this part of
It's part of probably what will become a memoir.
I hope so.
Whoa.
If you have more stories like that one, it's going to be a page turner.
Absolutely a page
That was
turner.
like the ice cream cone there.
Yes. Well, Deborah, we're going to have you back. We want to hear more. And of course, wishing you the best of luck with that, incredible piece. Thank you so much, Deborah.
Thank you so much. And thanks, everybody.
Yes. Well, we want to remind everyone that you need to go, for all of our writers and readers who have been in our little studio with us tonight, that there is, you got to go on to Facebook and also onto YouTube so that you could read all of the comments, see all of the love, see all of the emojis flying. So you can see everybody who's been here with us tonight, both on YouTube and on Facebook. And we just want to thank all of our incredible readers from the Westport Writers Workshop. Once again, applause for Mark Seidel, Joanna Simmons, Shrini Mandevilli, Melissa Demeo, Steve White, Gwen Reese, Shawn Fitzgerald, and Debra Coleman. Fabulous. So good. And we thank you so much. And we're hoping that we can have you all back sometime soon. And Chris, remind us what's coming up.
Oh my gosh.
We're a little bit over time.
Right. We have some poems next week. Paul Latore, Ray Jane, Elemental, and Nathaniel Beck.
Very excited about that. So please join us next weekend, on next Sunday night, for that show.
National Parents Day.
Oh, National Parents Day, yes. And join us on Saturday, hopefully, if you can come, at the New York City Poetry Festival. We'll be hopefully hanging out a little bit there, getting to hear some poetry.
Where can they get that info? Where can they pick that
on Fumfa Live Social on Facebook and also on Instagram. Join the group or request to follow, and you'll get all of that info there. Thank you so much for an awesome night. Thank you to our fabulous audience as well. And we look forward to seeing you next Sunday.
Good night, Katie.
Good night, Chris.